The Leadwing Coachman has caught a lot of fish over a lot of years in the East, but I like it for other reasons as well. If you'd like to do full dress salmon flies in the future, master the wings on this fly first. It will really help you long term. This fly is well worth the effort. Start the thread just behind the eye and then take it back all the way to the point of the hook. Trim it. We're going to do flat gold tinsel next. Tie it in on the far side of the hook, and that brings it underneath the hook once the thread torque takes hold. I'm using metal tinsel here, but if you use mylar, lay the gold side of the mylar up against the shank. It's counterintuitive, but it will work out. And you're gonna take 5 wraps of tinsel back, and then 4 or 5 wraps forward. Sometimes 4 works out better, sometimes 5 works out better. This is fine tinsel, so it's difficult to see as you're wrapping. You just have to kind of go by feel. There's a little camera shake here as I whack the camera with my hand. Apparently the anti-shake is not all it's cracked up to be on this camera. Just as a habit, I tie everything off underneath the hook. Not everything, almost everything underneath the hook. If I'm winding hackle, I'll typically tie it off on top of the hook. Another thing I do is take the thread all the way up to the front of the fly and then back to promote a level body. On this fly, it really does not matter at all. You don't need to do that. You could just go halfway up and back. I'm just going to wind a single peacock curl for the body here. You can do this a lot of different ways. I like the single hurl. I can get a pretty dense body with it, and it keeps my skills sharp. You won't break the hurl if you let it slide through your fingers. And as I wind, I make sure that the stem of the hurl, the prominent side with the stem, is leading. If you don't want a dense body, have the stem trail as you wind. And go pretty far up the shank with this body. This is one fly. These wet flies, if you want to try to keep a small head, it's not quite like a streamer. You really almost have to crowd the eye with everything. It just works out better. It promotes the shape of head and the size of head that we want. Trim the butt. Take it back right to the hurl, and we'll get ready to tie in a hackle. I like to size the hackle so that the strands go about down to the point of the hook, ideally. If they're a little longer than that or a little shorter than that, it doesn't matter. The fly will still fish. You need at least 6 solid turns of thread to bind the hackle down enough so that it won't pull out. And as far as folding the hackle goes, I do fold the hackle, but I do it as I wrap. I don't try to fold it ahead of time. You can fold it ahead of time. It's just harder to do, in my opinion. And I typically wrap the hackle all the way to the eye. Again, it's all about the head when you're done. Tie it off with at least 4 turns. And these are very firm turns of thread. You don't want this stuff pulling out midstream. Try to keep the hackle all below the equator of the hook, below the shank, if possible. So I'll bind it down about halfway back just to keep it low. And that keeps it out of the way of the wing when we go to mount it later. This is a left mallard quill on the left and a right on the right. We're going to cut slips from each to form our wings. Hold them tips up, tips together, and tips to the rear. When I go to mount the wing now, I've got a nice flat platform on which to mount it. If you don't do this, the wing can kick up and otherwise be influenced by the hackle. I've got a pinch with both my left and right hands going here, if you notice, and while I'm doing that, I'm pulling up on the bobbin to cinch the wing down, and this prevents thread torque from being a problem. And in this case, I nailed the wing the first time. It doesn't happen every time, but you'll get a high percentage if you keep thread torque out of the equation. Just be very aware of it. Bind down while securing the wings with your left hand. Be sure not to let them roll at this point. It's a good idea to really twist the bobbin up and make your thread very strong, because what we want to do from the eye is take some very firm wraps back up the head. Be very aggressive with it. Start your whip finish. Once you're done, have a look and make sure that your wraps have covered the butts. If there's still some showing, just do another one. Use a flat blade of your scissors and get in as close as you can. Hold the thread under tension and slice it off. And here's the final fly. I've glued the head with fly-tight cement. Be sure to do that. If you master these, and I mean really master them so the wings are perfect, you'll find that the full dress salmon fly winging becomes very easy for you. Good luck.